Welcome back to Better Living. I'm here with Dr. William James from the Armory Church. You've been with us before. I have enjoyed it thoroughly, and you've given us lots of good things to work on. Let's talk about first something we mentioned last time you were here, the 7 deadly sins.
Yes.
And specifically, you guys are working on pride right now.
Pride, well, 7 deadly sins, the Bible talks about there's 7 sins that God hates. There are pride and lust and greed and sloth and envy and anger and gluttony. And pride, the Bible says, go before his destruction. The Bible says that God opposes the proud, but he gives grace or the power to change to the humble. There's good pride, there's self-respect, dignity, satisfaction of a job well done, but then there's bad pride. There's conceit, egoism, edging God out, selfishness, an attitude of superiority. Obviously, we don't want to do that.
Well, how do you think people, or how do you, as a teacher and somebody that people turn to get advice, how do you, in this world of, it's got to be all about you, you got to be the best, you got to be #1, and we do want to instill some sort of competitiveness in our children, but how do you keep that from turning into pride?
Well, I mean, there's a healthy pride, like I said, but if we're not careful, and what's deadly about pride is it prevents me from growing. If I say I have it all together, then there's no need for me to grow. There's no need for me to expand. There's no need for me to change. There's competition, which is healthy, but when I get to the point that I think that, I don't need to change because I've arrived, I think the humility part is good because we all are a combination of strengths and weaknesses. And only a humble person can admit that, hey, here's some good things in my life, but also have some struggles in life. We all do. I think we need to balance that. We have to own that. Yeah.
That's what I always say. Yeah. I have that, but I own it, so that makes it a little bit better. Right?
Exactly. So it prevents me from growing, and then pride also poisons relationships. And when we act like we have it all together, when I don't say that, you know what, I'm part of the problem, that can ruin relationships. Yes. You see on TV with the movie stars, irreconcilable differences. Well, that's just a legal way of saying I'm giving up on the fight. I don't want to fight for my marriage. I don't want to fight for my relationship. And a lot of that goes back to pride, saying, you know what, I'm part of the problem. I don't want to admit it. And so you can see how deadly that is. It poisons relationships.
Absolutely. And that can start at home and go into your work life or every part of your life.
It's the basis of all conflicts, war. We gets down to it, I don't want to move. I don't want to give my part up. Pride is the ugly face behind it all. So we want to look at that and look at the solutions. And we'll talk about humility as one of the solutions to getting us past the deadliness of pride.
Well, I know that this is something you guys have been working on at church, but then you're also going to move on to teaching on the book of Romans. What do we find in the book of Romans?
The book of Romans, and again, when I talk about an exegetical study, it's important because most teachers or pastors do verse by verse. We're going to go verse with verse, We're going to go verse by verse, chapter by chapter. There's 16 chapters. The book of Romans is really the lens throughout the other books of the Bible. If you can understand the book of Romans, that's sort of Christianity 101, sin, sanctification. That's just a big word about how to become like Christ. Talks about spiritual gifts, the sovereignty of God. It's basically Christianity 101. If we can unpack and learn the doctrines of Romans, you can understand the rest of the Bible. So I'm just going to take anybody who's interested, verse by verse, for the next 9 months. And I believe if you can get ownership of a book, then you're going to become more like Jesus. You're going to act like Jesus, think like Jesus. Most people don't really know the books of the Bible. We're living in a generation now where most people don't know the difference between Genesis and Revelation.
Right.
And so, you and I came up with Sunday school and all those kinds of things. We're in a biblically illiterate society, and we have to change that.
That's crazy to me. I mean, being the preacher's kid and all, these are things that I've heard a lot. Let's talk to, you guys are doing a challenge.
Yes.
30-day no cursing
30
challenge.
days no cursing. One of my good friends, Nelson Searcy, and it's the book Tongue-Pierced Lifestyle, and you can get it on Amazon, but it's not physically being tongue-pierced. It's living the life that says, I'm starting to be more intentional about my words. The Bible says life and death are in the power of the tongue. Think about the people, and you may not physically die, but just think about the people when we speak words. Sometimes they're not edifying words, they're destructive. And we just want to be more intentional about our words. Cursing goes all the way back to the Old Testament, where God cursed the serpent for challenging Eve. And so that was really a curse to everything. And the whole point is God only has the right to curse. Even the S word, the SH word, came out of the bubonic plague period, where people would actually put a plague on people through that word. We don't see the history of it, the God D word. I mean, no one has the right to curse anybody but God. So I want to get to this challenge starting on February 8th. They can go on our Facebook, Armory Church, and starting on February the 8th all the way to March the 8th, I'm challenging all of Toledo to go 30 days without cursing. I mean, if you mess up, start all over again. I mean, and some of the things is pause and consider your words before you speak. When a curse word comes on the tip of your mouth, remain silent. You know, shift your words to something positive. You know, this is something that I think is good. Even people now are saying, even employers are saying that they will hire people, promote more people who don't curse as opposed to people who do curse. Because they're saying that people who curse on the job, those are signs of immaturity and lack of professionalism. If you can't express yourself with positive words. If anything, this is going to promote discussions all throughout Toledo at the end of the day about how to have a healthy language.
Well, and it's just going to, whether you think it's bad to curse or not bad to curse, it still is going to be more positive. You are going to have a more positive 30 days
well, let me tell
if you eliminate
something.
that.
I guarantee you, if you stop cursing around people who curse, they're going to look at you and they're probably going to stop cursing too, because most people don't want to curse around people who don't curse.
Right.
So if anything, it's going to promote healthy discussion, and we want to speak life over people and health, even over our mayor. We want to speak life and health and energy. Just being intentional every day, saying I'm going to wake up for 30 days and only speak words that edify will change our country.
I think that is a fantastic challenge. All you have to do is go to their website and sign up February 8th through March 8th. No cursing. I think I'll accept that challenge.
All right.
Thanks to Dr. James. Go to the Armory's website for any information about their church. They're reaching out to our area. We'll be right back on Better Living.